The average person now checks their phone 205 times a day. That is roughly once every 5 minutes during every waking hour. If you've ever tried to focus on a task and felt a magnetic pull toward a screen, you're experiencing brain drain. Research shows that even a phone turned face down on a desk consumes significant cognitive resources as the brain works to ignore it. This constant state of readiness can lead to ringxiety, phantom vibration syndrome, where the nervous system becomes so sensitized it actively hallucinates a notification. This is the result of a nervous system trapped in chronic hypervigilance, a state where your body remains on high alert for the next digital stimulus. The smartphone has become an environmental trigger, maintaining a baseline of physiological stress that makes true relaxation difficult to achieve. This distress is clinically defined as nomophobia. It's a psychological vulnerability linked to high tactile needs and extroversion, where the absence of a device triggers a measurable fear response. This diagram overlaps nomophobia with standard clinical anxiety, sharing symptoms with traditional separation anxiety. Phone usage aligns with obsessive-compulsive behaviors. We compulsively check devices for temporary relief. When unavailable, the body produces physiological responses identical to panic disorder, including elevated heart rate and breathlessness. Because these behaviors follow the architecture of clinical anxiety, lasting change depends on applying structured principles from cognitive behavioral therapy rather than relying on willpower alone. To understand the fix, we have to look at the engineering. The smartphone interface is built to interact directly with our nervous system's reward pathways. This flowchart illustrates variable ratio reinforcement. Checking your phone leads to an unpredictable outcome, which triggers a dopamine release in the brain's reward center. It's the exact same mechanism as a slot machine. The brain becomes addicted to the possibility of a reward. One notification might be a stressful work alert, while the next is a message from a loved one. That constant gamble keeps the brain in a state of anxious anticipation. App developers have mapped their interfaces to our neurochemistry, capturing the brain's reward centers before our rational judgment can intervene. This variable reinforcement system is often fueled by doom scrolling, the repetitive habit of consuming negative news feeds despite the anxiety it produces. Continuous exposure to threats in the news cycle keeps the brain in a persistent survival threat state, preventing the nervous system from returning to a calm baseline. This chart represents our cognitive capacity. Even with your phone face down, you experience attention residue. Your mental energy is drained by actively resisting the urge to check the device. This constant background processing results in mental fog and elevated cortisol levels. The mere presence of the phone reduces your available intelligence. It drains your cognitive battery, making deep concentration a physiological challenge. Because willpower is easily exhausted, cognitive behavioral therapy focuses on stimulus control, changing the environment so the unhealthy behavior becomes harder to perform. The first clinical step is mindful friction. This involves introducing intentional delays to break the automatic loop between the urge and the action. This side-by-side comparison shows the impact of grayscale mode. Saturated colors are designed to trigger dopamine. By removing the color, you neutralize the visual reward and make the device less stimulating. Another CBT technique is the intentional 3-breath pause. Forcing a delay before opening an app activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for impulse control. Mindful friction isn't about restriction. It is about restoring the conscious choice point, allowing you to decide your behavior rather than reacting to a compulsion. Behavioral psychology dictates that you cannot simply eliminate a habit. You must implement a competing behavior, an activity that makes the original habit impossible to perform. When the urge to scroll hits, you replace it with a tactile activity, like reading a book, walking, or journaling. You can't scroll while you're focused on a physical, analog task. These tactile activities help soothe the nervous system, signaling to the brain that the survival threat state is over. This graph tracks how habits form over time. Research shows it takes an average of 66 days for a new behavior to become automatic. Success requires consistent repetition over several months. By treating smartphone use as a clinical habit loop, we can use environmental design to reclaim our focus. When we manage the triggers, we transform the device back into a tool.